Hi, everyone. This is Adam Rush from the University of Illinois College of Education, and I am here in this video to offer some tips on using Zoom. For the past year and a half, our faculty and staff in online programs have been using Zoom to conduct online classes. We use it to do synchronous sessions to connect with our students face-to-face, so we can get that experience of talking with students in a group, one-on-one, small groups, whatever we need to do, so that we can have a great experience even from a distance. Of course, in the past week and a half, we've had to start getting our on-campus courses ready to use Zoom as well. This coronavirus pandemic that's going on has made things a little interesting. And I know there are many others affected. That's probably why you're watching this video. I'll give a shout out to all the K-12 teachers and my colleagues in higher ed who have had to move to remote learning. Hope you haven't had too much disruption. And part of the land-grant mission of my institution is to help share the information that we learn. And so that's what I'm trying to do here today. So what is Zoom? Well, I'm actually using Zoom right now to record this. Let me go ahead and share my screen. So Zoom is like I said, it's a video conferencing platform. And Zoom is like if WebEx and Skype had a baby, and then it started to copy all the tricks from Blackboard Collaborate and other online classrooms, and it wanted to take over the world, because that's kind of what Zoom is doing in video conferencing. They have a great amount of the market share right now, and they're getting a lot bigger with the current situation. It's an online meeting platform, like I said, and there are two kinds of accounts that you can do. You can get a basic account or a pro account. And of course, they have recently announced that K-12 schools can have free pro accounts. Now, what's the difference? With a basic account, you can have a meeting one-on-one with anyone you want for as long as you want, and that's fine. But if you want to have a meeting with more people, you can only have up to 99 people, and it can only go for 40 minutes before you get kicked off and told you have to do a different session. With a pro account, you get up to 300 people for unlimited time. So that's a nice feature. That's not just good for teachers, but also for tutors, homeschool networks, people who are working on collaborative projects at a distance. Now, all those people can't get it for free. Only K-12 schools are being offered it for free right now, but those are all the kinds of people who might find use for it. So we'll show you some of the things. To start with, when you log into your account, you'll have your profile right here. And this is a view of my profile, some of the personal information redacted. And you can see here that it says user type licensed, because mine is a licensed pro account. It's licensed through the university. When I want to share with someone, have a meeting with someone, I can share my personal meeting ID with them or my personal URL so they can connect to my sessions. We also have the meetings tab. So when you come here to your profile, you have a list of your meetings that are coming up today, and look at what you have going on for the rest of the week. You also have your previous meetings you can look at, and you can schedule a new meeting. We'll have more on that later. You can also look at the recordings. When you record a session, you can have it show up right here in the recordings tab, and you can go back and watch the video. You can either click on the link here or just download the files completely. You can share that with your students so that they can watch it, or anyone else who wants to watch it. If it's a cloud recording, it lives here in the cloud. That's what makes it shareable. Or if it's a local recording, it'll live on your desktop. So you can see here how I have two different computers where I've been using Zoom, and I had been making recordings. So it actually keeps track of where the program has saved those on my desktop, so I can see the meetings. And then I can go and look up those files again that it's saved. One thing you might want to note is that basic users can do local recordings only. You have to be a pro user in order to do cloud recordings, but the local recordings are really good as well. In your settings, you can set things up. I want to show you one thing that's really great if you're worried about accessibility, which everybody should be. Down here, they have the audio transcript capability. You might have to turn this on. I don't think it's on for most people by default, but if you click on this, that will make a transcription, automatic transcription of all the audio into a subtitle text file. It's not perfect, of course. It's just a AI that captures it and processes your voice, listens to it and processes it. But it's pretty accurate if you have a good audio source and it's able to get a good, clean sound for you. And then, of course, you can always edit the file to have the subtitles be more accurate when you go through later, so your students can see that. And right here, I'll go back to the meetings tab, you have the schedule a new meeting button. So when you click on that, you can schedule a new meeting in order to share it with people. And I'm actually going to go ahead and click over and share my web browser with you so you can see what that looks like. So here we go. We're in the meetings. I've clicked on the schedule a meeting button, and this is my schedule a meeting tab. So first of all, it gives me a little reminder here. If you're using Outlook, if you like to have the Exchange interface, you can download a plugin for Zoom that integrates it into your Outlook toolbar. So you can just click on a button and schedule a meeting automatically. Pretty handy. So you can imagine things for that. You want to have a face-to-face meeting with someone, organize a small group. Maybe you have a student who needs to have a consultation, office hours. You can send them a link for a private session straight through your email client. Pretty nice. If it's going to be a recurring meeting, you click on this button, and now you can see here how it says, when do you want it to recur? Do you want it to be every day? Or perhaps you want it to be every week? That's cool. So it's going to be every Monday. It's going to be lasting until May 18th. And it's going to go for 3 hours starting at 6 p.m. Cool, we've done that. And I'm going to turn off registration because I'm not as worried about that. But if I keep scrolling down, I then have the options of like looking at video. Do you want to have the video turned on and when people first enter the room? This is just when people first enter the room. So you can just leave it off and people can turn on their video on their own later if they want to. If you want to have the audio be able to be through the computer or the telephone, you can just say both. And then the meeting options. Do you want people to come in before you? That's fine. Do you want people to be muted when they enter? That's a pretty good thing to have on. That way they don't enter with their microphone already turned on. If you have that checked, they can always unmute themselves later to talk to you. You can say something like record the meeting automatically. And then you can decide whether you want to record the meeting on the local computer or in the cloud if you're a pro user. One thing I do want to warn you about is if you're doing this for a class, you might want to say, okay, I'm going to record the meeting automatically in the cloud, but I'm going to turn off enable join before and host, because that way my people aren't jumping in and joining like an hour before my meeting is supposed to start. They're going to be in there for 30 seconds when they realize nobody's there and then leave. So I don't have all these little 30-second recordings that are sitting in my box. They also have the ability to do a waiting room if you want to have it so that you have to manually let people in. So if you're not sure you want to let everyone in, you want to let a few people in first, you can check that. But it can be a little annoying sometimes if you just want people to enter all at once. So that's up to you. Finally, alternative hosts. This only works if you have people who are in your domain. So this is like if your school has a list of people who are activated their accounts. So for me, it would be anyone with an @illinois.edu account. And then you save. And then once you've saved a meeting, you open this up and you have meeting information. And with the meeting information, it'll tell you what the time is, the meeting ID. It gives you a URL and gives you all the information of how you save the meeting. And you can click on this button, copy the invitation, and it brings up this little screen that gives details. So you can just copy this whole thing, or just click this and it copies the whole thing, copy to clipboard, and then paste it in an email to send someone. All right, so now you've seen how to schedule a meeting. You've seen how to look up the schedule. I'll also show you how to join a meeting. When you log into your Zoom application, you have this little interface right here. And you either have your meeting that you've scheduled show up in your calendar. So you can just click on the start button and that'll let you join the meeting. But you can also join other people's meetings. If you click on the join button, then you'll be able to join the meeting number that they sent you. So basically that'll bring up this, and you type in the meeting ID that they sent you. So remember, that's like that 9-digit number in the previous interface. And you just click join. And you could even like be hosting a meeting, tell someone to click join, and then just read the number off to them. So that gives you an idea of how to do it. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and show you a clip that I made with our studio of how to use Zoom with a few of my colleagues from the IT partners in education. And the reason why I have to do that is because if I share my screen, it won't actually show you the Zoom controls. So right now, I actually have some Zoom windows over my slides, but you can't see them because Zoom is smart enough to hide itself, which is pretty cool. I can also move my video around. So like right now, my camera, I just moved to the middle of the screen. But for you, it remains up in the upper right-hand corner because it's recording. And the Zoom recorder is just smart enough to keep it up there. So this recording I made in the studio is going to allow you to see it in action. So I'll go ahead and go to that clip.
So now we're back in the Zoom meeting. You've successfully scheduled your course. You've successfully started your meeting. You've had some students join. You even have a couple people who are brave enough to turn on their camera. And you're going to want to talk to them. So as I showed you before, you can use your microphone in your video to look at people and talk to people. You can make sure you're selecting the right source. So make sure you have the right microphone and the right speaker selected. If you're wearing a USB headset, you might want to make sure that the microphone is a USB microphone and not your not the mic that's built into your laptop. You also might want to make sure that the speaker is the USB headset and not the speaker built into your laptop, etc. If you have like an external webcam and a built-in webcam, you can also switch between those on the video. And of course, you can manage participants as I showed you before. I'll skip over the polling feature because the polling feature goes a little more in depth. You can find information about the polling feature on the Zoom documentation. But the share screen feature is something you're probably going to use for your classes. So when you click on the share screen feature, you will get the option of either sharing your desktop, or your second monitor, so desktop 1, desktop 2, or you can share just an application, which is a pretty nice feature if you don't want the students to see other stuff. So if I click on this, share, my Zoom window gets minimized to where I just have a little window with my video where I can still see my students, but I also have up here this toolbar that shows the Zoom controls. Now here's what's cool about just sharing anything on Zoom. Any of the Zoom features your students can't see. So right now, Michael and David are watching my screen, but they cannot see this panel right here. So they won't be able to see if I go in here to pause the share and do something else. Now it's paused and I can do whatever I want. But I'm going to unpause it. I'm going to resume. They also can't see the video. So if I decide I'm going to move the video over here so I can open up some notes, and then I open up some notes in Microsoft Word, and I put or PowerPoint, and I put PowerPoint notes on top so I can read some notes from my lecture that I want to go over, they are actually still seeing the web browser that's being shared, even though it's behind my PowerPoint slides here. So that's kind of nice. But I can go back to my web browser now, which they didn't even realize I was away from, except they were listening to me. And I can also stop the share to come back into the main meeting. Now, one thing that will probably happen in your classes is you'll have students chatting with each other. So you can open up the chat. I have mine broken out, so it's like this. I can also click these 3 little dots, and I can merge into the meeting window to have it as part of the meeting window. So these things you can choose to either pop out or merge as you wish. Oh, and I should also mention with the screen share that all of your students are able to share their screens. So if you say, hey, Michael, why don't you go ahead and share your screen? Michael has the ability to do that. If you want to, you can click this little caret here and decide, nope, advanced sharing options, only the host can share the screen, and now they aren't able to. But honestly, if you're running a class, I don't think you need to do that because students are generally going to be a little too intimidated to start sharing their screen unless they're asked to anyway, because it'll pop up that says Michael Painter has started sharing his screen and the entire class will see it. So, you know, they probably won't do that. So with the chat window, people will be chatting in here. Don't try to keep up. Just when you get a chance, you can stop and ask ask people, do you have any questions? And then you can allow them to type in questions to ask you. But you do be aware here that this says to everyone. You can also click this and send it to just one person. So if you send this message, this is going just to David privately, and the rest of the class can't see it. And he can reply privately as well. Next feature over is the recording. With recording, you can record directly to the computer or you can record to the cloud. This is useful for if you don't have recording started automatically. And if the session is currently being recorded, you can decide to pause or stop the recording whenever you want. And then when the recording has been processed, you'll get an email that tells you that the recording is ready to share. The closed captioning button, that's not for transcriptions. That is for a live captioner. So if you click on this, you can set somebody to be the captioner. And you'll assign them to be the closed captioner. In general, that is if Dres has assigned you a captioner because there's someone in your class that has a special accessibility need. And then finally, breakout rooms. Breakout rooms are used to allow your students to have some discussions away from the main session. When you click on the breakout room button, it will bring up this control panel for breakout rooms, and you'll be able to set up how you want students to be assigned. So if you say automatically, it'll automatically assign all your participants into random rooms. If you say manually, you will have to manually choose who to put into each room. Automatically is great if you just want to send them off for like a couple minutes to discuss a point and you don't care who's with it. Manually, let's say you have pre-existing groups that are working on group projects, and maybe you want them to come to something from a perspective of their group project. That's what you'd use that for. I'm going to set this up for 4 different rooms. I'm going to say manually, and I'm going to create the rooms. And now I have the chance to assign people to different rooms. So I'm going to assign Sergio here. I'll assign David here. I'll assign Jill here. I'll assign Michael here. And notice that as I assign people to rooms, the number of people able to be in the room, the number of people in this little box here goes down. And it'll tell me how many people are currently in the room. And I can always choose to take someone out. And if I realize that 2 people being in the same room is going to be trouble because they're just going to joke around with each other and not be helpful for class, I can click on the exchange button and I can say, okay, I'm going to exchange these 2 so that I keep the same number of people I want in the room, but separate a couple of people that I don't necessarily want to be in the same room, or whatever. You can think of examples of how you want it. Now, one thing I do want to note here is that only the host can control the breakout rooms. So if you have a TA and you decide to come over here and make them the co-host, they are able to mute people, they're able to stop people's videos, and they are able to kick people out of the session even, but they are not able to control breakout rooms. That's because if more than one person had the ability to control breakout rooms, there might be some conflicts. We'd actually seen that in the past with some other software. So if you're an instructor and you have a TA, you might even make your TA the host and you be the co-host so that your TA can take care of making breakout rooms while you're teaching class. Okay, so we have our breakout rooms. We're ready to send our students off to be in them. We can click on the options button and we can decide what we're going to do here. So I'm going to say that I want my breakout rooms. So first, move all participants into breakout rooms automatically. If this box is not checked, they will get an invitation to ask them if they would like to move to the room, and they have to click on it. But by checking this box, they'll just be pushed to the room automatically, and they won't have to look for that pop-up. Second, allow participants to return to the main session anytime. If this box is checked, they can come and tell you, like, hey, we're having some trouble. Would you come and help us or whatever? And they'll have that interface. So that's kind of a nice thing to leave checked, I think. Third, timer. Breakout rooms close automatically after how many minutes? This is great for if you want to give them a time to discussion. So you can say after 20 minutes, and it'll give them a countdown timer that'll be there the whole time. And it'll also, if you check this, this will give you a notification when the time is up so that you see it as well. And then finally, what kind of a countdown do you want after closing the breakout rooms? I like to say, you can say it's going to be like 2 minutes, 1 minute, 30 seconds, 15 or 10. If you do that, that means that there's a big countdown timer so that students are basically told, wrap up whatever you're saying because you're about to come back to the room when it's done. So let's go ahead and open all rooms and see what happens. All right, all participants have been invited to join breakout rooms, and they've all been sent away, except for Sarah. There she goes. So it just takes a minute to send them off. But now you can see here in my breakout room control panel that each of my participants are in the room. So Michael and Sarah are talking. Jill and David and Sergio are each in their own room. At this point, the rooms are set, so I can't. So it's a little harder to do things, but you can move people to another room. You can't like, yeah. So we can say, okay, move him. And we can move him. Oh, I meant to actually move him to 3, I mean, instead of 4. There we go. So you can rearrange people to make sure they're in the correct rooms. And so now they are talking with each other and having their discussion. If you need to get a hold of them, use this broadcast a message to all. And this will make a little indicator pop up on their screen up here with the message. And then finally, I close the rooms. And you can see right here that they now have a countdown timer on their screen that says the same thing right here. All breakout rooms will close in 20 seconds. And so now they have a button that says come back to the main room. And they are slowly coming back to the main room as they click that button. And if they don't click that button, it will automatically happen for them in 5 seconds. And so here we go. Everybody's coming back to the main room now. Now the breakout rooms still remain existing, but everybody's in the main session. If I want to, I can also reshuffle the rooms. I can click recreate. And I can replace the current rooms with something else. So let's say I just want to put people randomly in 2 rooms. And then that'll reshuffle the rooms. Recreate, I should say. That's their terminology. So that is a look at how breakout rooms work. And finally, when you're done with the meeting, you have the end meeting button. Now it's going to be important to click the end meeting button because that's what's going to stop the recording, and it's going to be what makes people leave the session. If you were to click, you can click end meeting and you can just leave the meeting. But if I were to just leave the meeting, everyone would still be in the room and someone else might become the host. Instead, if I end meeting for all, that kicks everyone out. And it also stops the recording. And we want the recording to stop at the end of class so that we don't have 15 minutes of somebody who's already walked away from their computer just sitting there. So I will say goodbye to all of you. Thank you for hanging out in the meeting room. And then I'm going to end meeting for all.
Okay, so now you've had a chance to see how Zoom works in a live demonstration. So you might have the question, is this going to scale? And by that I mean, is Zoom going to keep working with all of the people who are jumping on board? Or if I jump on board, am I going to be the person who breaks it because too many people are on the system? Honestly, I don't know. The company has put out a press release that they are ready to handle the world's traffic. They say that they have a very modular system. They can just spin up more servers and that they can handle as many people as want to come because they can just continue to buy cloud space to process this. It's very possible that that's going to work out for them. They have an incredible platform, and if they've built it right, that might be working. I do know that their customer service is overwhelmed. They have very long wait for response times. So you know what? The support documentation is your friend. If you decide to use this, you're probably not going to be able to get to a live person right away if you have problems. So start looking at the documentation for your issues, try to figure those out, and talking with other people. But if you do have problems, there are other ways out there to connect with people. You can try some other platforms. But honestly, we've had very good experiences with Zoom. I'm not being paid to say this. I'm just telling you the honest truth that if you're looking for a tool to use, this is a good one and it might serve you well. Let's also talk about pedagogy. You might be tempted, now that you have this software, to try to replicate your classroom. You can say, well, we can't meet in person, but we can just get together and do the exact same thing through Zoom. Don't try to do that, please. First of all, it's too easy for people to zone out when you can't see them. If I was in a meeting with you, you would probably be playing Tetris in front of my face right now because I'm kind of boring, but that's okay. So take lots of breaks, ask for lots of feedback and responses. Don't lecture for the whole time. Give like 5 minutes and then stop and say, hey, I need some feedback and responses. Somebody needs to tell me, what do you think about that? Does that make sense? Don't just talk at them. Try to follow a flipped classroom model. This is the perfect time for you to start putting your lectures online for students to watch at their convenience. And then if you put your lecture online, like I've done this one, people can watch a bit of it, pause it, come back to it later, watch it, be done with it. And when they come to your class, they can have a discussion. And you can say, hey, you guys all watched my lecture, right? Let's actually talk about what I said. Maybe at first, some of them haven't seen it, but if you set that expectation that they have watched it before, you'll probably be surprised at how many people will be willing to start doing it. I don't know what the next few days and weeks will bring. There may be server delays with Zoom. There may be internet delays just worldwide because of so many people being online, watching Netflix and telecommuting, as more and more states in the US are going remote and having lockdowns. But that's something that you can work through. So you know what? You can consider making local recordings instead of cloud recordings if delays occur. I showed you how to do the cloud recordings and how you can click share to share the link. But if you make a local recording, then you can save to your desktop, and maybe your school has a server set up where people can download it through like the LMS, or maybe you can upload it to YouTube and let people watch it through YouTube because you have that file already that you can share with people. You know what? After recording your thing, you can do whatever you want with it. I hope you find that useful. If you have any questions, post them here on my YouTube comments. Maybe I'll answer. I can't guarantee it. I might not come back to this. Maybe nobody will ever watch this and it won't matter anyway. So I'm just sort of putting this out there because it seemed like a fun thing to do. I'd say subscribe to my channel and click on the bell for updates, but honestly, I have no idea whether I'll make any more videos or not. But until then, farewell. Thanks for watching. Have fun.